The truth that no one tells you is that you already have a natural power of attraction, but you probably never learned how to use it. Forget the lies you were taught about the need for money, beauty, or status to awaken desire. What really attracts women is not what you have, but the energy you project. And the most shocking thing, they feel it, but they will never admit it. Prefer to test, challenge, and observe, hoping that you discover this secret yourself. Has it ever been said why some men, even without being physically perfect, can effortlessly magnetize female attention? It's not coincidental. There is a hidden pattern in the way women perceive masculinity, a silent code that defines who enters their minds and who is forgotten in the next second. The game of attraction doesn't happen on the surface. It happens on a deep, psychological, and energetic level. And when a man understands this, he never fights for attention again. The problem is that few men know how to access this power. Most are stuck in insecurities, trying to impress with external things, while the true masters of attraction operate completely differently. If you finally want to understand how this game works and why women hide it from you, keep reading. Because what you're about to discover could completely change your view of what it really means to be a man of magnetic presence. Authentic masculine energy is something that few men notice in themselves, but that women feel instinctively. It's not just about appearance or status, but about a subtle, almost magnetic presence that conveys strength, security, and purpose. The man who masters this energy does not need to say much. His gaze, his posture, and even the rhythm of his breathing communicate everything. This explains why some people enter a space and instantly attract attention, while others go unnoticed. This magnetism is often more powerful than rehearsed words or superficial attempts to impress. Imagine two men in a coffee shop. One maintains an erect, calm posture, focused on the moment, without the need to prove himself. The other is restless, confusing on his cell phone, looking away, seeking external validation. Both have the same physical appearance, but one exudes an energy that attracts, while the other appears scattered and insecure. This type of perception is unconscious for women, but real. It's a difference between a man who radiates peace and confidence and one who seems lost in his own mind. Good news. This energy is not something reserved for a lucky few. Any man can access it by connecting with his essence, cultivating a real purpose and eliminating mental noise that drains his presence. Deep breathing, focusing on the moment, and emotional self-control are keys to intensifying this vibration. Men who master this aspect stand out, not just in the field of attraction, but in life as a whole. There is an interesting detail. Even when they reject a man, women still feel this energy. Which brings us to something few people talk about. Men and women experience attraction in completely different ways. While men are more visual, instantly captured by aesthetics, women perceive something more subtle, the masculine energy behind appearance. A man can be impeccably dressed, but if his presence is weak, if he does not convey firmness, he will be just another person in the room. On the other hand, a man with a strong posture, penetrating gaze, and focused energy can be irresistible, regardless of his appearance. This explains why some women are attracted to men who, on the surface, don't seem to fit the classic standard of beauty. Think of a successful businessman who enters an environment with firm steps, without rushing, without the need to prove anything to anyone. He says little, but his presence dominates the room. Now, compare it to a young man who tries to be funny all the time, talking loudly to get attention, but who exudes latent insecurity. Who do you think will spark the most curiosity and desire? Women not only notice this difference, they react to it instinctively. The first man emanates the peace of someone who is in tune with the creator of the universe and with his own mission, while the second seeks external approval to fill an internal void. This phenomenon also explains why a man can be rejected and still arouse a woman's interest. She may say no for any number of reasons, but his energy remains in her mind, like an impression that is difficult to erase. This is the secret of unconscious attraction, which goes far beyond aesthetics and touches deep layers of female psychology. And this leads us to a big trap that many men fall into, believing that rejection means unattractiveness. Many men make the mistake of thinking that being infected is a sign of unattractiveness. But the truth is that separation does not mean a lack of interest. Often, it is just a reflection of the situations, the woman's mindset at the time, or the emotional barriers she herself faces. A man can be rejected by a woman today and, months later, become irresistible to her, without having changed anything physically. What happened? His energy appears in her mind, subtly activating unconscious triggers that cannot be ignored. Consider a practical example. A man meets a woman, they talk, there is connection, but in the end she says she is not ready for something at the moment. Most media is like a definite no and would feel devalued. But the reality is that she may be testing your energy, observing your events and, without realizing it, leaving doors open for the future. Men who internalize rejection as a blow to their self-esteem miss out on great opportunities. Those who understand that their energy continues to resonate in the universe, regardless of the momentary response, remain firm, cultivating peace, light, and prosperity in their lives. The most curious thing is that women can reject a man but still feel his presence when he enters a room. This happens because masculine energy does not dissipate with a no. That's why a confident man, who doesn't seek validation, ends up being remembered. He becomes an enigma that the female mind wants to decipher. And there's something even more intriguing. When a man learns to access this power, he begins to create an almost hypnotic effect on the women around him. Masculine energy has a profound impact on the female psyche, often unconsciously. When a man is completely aligned with his essence, his presence creates an almost hypnotic effect on women. It's not about tricks or rehearsed phrases, but about an internal strength that conveys security and purpose. Women feel this vibration and, even without understanding exactly why, they are attracted to it. This explains why some men don't need to do much to spark female interest. They simply exist authentically, without the need to prove anything. Imagine a man who enters an environment and is not affected by the opinions of others. He has clear objectives, speaks truthfully, and doesn't care if he receives attention or not. This kind of presence makes a quiet but powerful impact. Women pretend not to notice, but internally they feel something different when they are close to this type of man. He doesn't need to shout to be heard, nor beg for approval. His energy speaks for itself. It's like an invisible magnet that effortlessly attracts those around you. What few men realize is that this energy can be cultivated. Small habits, like developing a greater purpose, practicing introspection, and eliminating the need for external validation, make all the difference. Contrary to what many think, attraction does not begin in the physical, but in the mind. And when a man masters this psychological power, he begins to realize that his presence has a profound effect, even when he does nothing apparent. The problem is that many have lost this strength due to a lack of confidence and assertiveness. Confidence and assertiveness are two fundamental pillars of masculine energy. A man can have all the desirable qualities, but if he hesitates, doubts himself, or seeks approval at every turn, his presence weakens. Women not only realize this, they react instinctively. Authentic confidence is not arrogance, but rather the calm certainty of someone who knows what they want and acts towards it. A man who doubts himself, who asks for permission to exist, loses connection with his masculine energy and, consequently, his ability to attract naturally. See the difference between two men approaching a woman. The first speaks hesitantly, worried about her response, almost as if asking for permission to express himself. The second looks you in the eye, speaks clearly, and does not seem affected by the outcome of the interaction. Who transmits more power? The second, without a doubt. And here's the key: it's not about what he says, but how he says it. Your tone of voice, your posture, and your gaze transmit an energy that the female mind instantly captures. This security is the basis for any successful interaction, whether in relationships or in life in general. Men who cultivate this internal confidence are not shaken by rejections or other people's opinions. They understand that their value does not depend on external validation, and they pursue their journey with peace and purpose. The irony: many women who initially rejected them end up attracted precisely by the firmness with which they stick to their own path. But there is a fascinating detail in all this. Women rarely admit that they feel this attraction. And that brings us to a secret that few know. Women rarely admit when they feel attracted to a man. Not because they want to play, but because considering this connection could put them in a vulnerable position. Unlike men, who express their interest more directly, women tend to test and observe before demonstrating anything. This psychological mechanism has deep roots in biology and culture. However, just because a woman doesn't verbalize her interest doesn't mean it doesn't exist. On the contrary, it is often precisely the silence, small gestures, and subtle body language that reveal what she really feels. Has it ever happened that a man sensed that a woman was interested, but she acted cold or distant? This happens because many women do not want to openly demonstrate their vulnerability. They feel masculine energy, perceive the strength of presence, but may hesitate to react immediately. Some will create challenges, ask seemingly banal questions, or even act indifferently, as if nothing happened. But the signs are there: the prolonged eye contact, the discreet smile, the game of moving away and getting closer. All of this reveals more than words could ever say. What many men don't realize is that trying to force a response can directly break this natural dynamic of attraction. The real secret is to remain firm, centered, without the need for rush or validation. Women feel peace and threats, the presence of a man who is not desperate to conquer. It allows attraction to grow organically, without the need for immediate confirmations. And when this kind of man speaks clearly about his desires, without beating around the bush, he enters powerful territory that few explore. Direct honesty is one of the most underrated aspects of male attraction. The book Mode 1, by Alan Roger Curry, explores a concept that few men dare to apply: expressing their desires without hesitation, without games, and without fear of being inhibited. Most men fear being transparent because they believe it can turn women off. However, the reality is the opposite. Women respect and are strongly attracted to men who know what they want and have the courage to say it clearly. When a man speaks truthfully and confidently, he activates a psychological trigger of value and consequences that few women can ignore. Imagine the difference between two men approaching a woman. The first uses indirectness, beats around the bush, tries to be cute or funny to mask his interests. The second looks into her eyes and says confidently, "I thought you were amazing and I want to get to know you better." The first can be seen as someone who tries to manipulate the situation, while the second conveys clarity and strength. An irony. Even if a woman says no to the second man, she will respect him much more than the first. Transparency eliminates insecurities and establishes a leadership position. Society teaches men to be passive and hide their true interests, but this weakens them. Men who practice brutal honesty find that their interactions become more authentic, whether in flirting, in business, or in their personal lives. This direct energy creates a magnetic field around them, eliminating confusion and attracting people who resonate with this frequency. And the natural consequence of this: a man who masters this skill begins to unleash raw power that goes beyond words. When a man realizes the raw power he carries within himself, his presence transforms. He stops seeking validation and starts moving with purpose. Your energy changes, your voice gains firmness, your posture aligns with your essence. This awakening does not happen by chance, but rather when he decides to stop acting like someone who needs to be accepted and starts living like someone who already knows his worth. Masculine energy in its purest form does not beg for attention. It is commanded naturally, effortlessly. Think about great leaders or figures who marked history. They weren't necessarily the prettiest or the richest, but they had something in common: a presence that transcended words. This magnetism is not born from chance, but from a deep connection with one's own purpose. Men who discover this secret realize that they no longer need to chase. Whether at work, in relationships, or in any other area of life, opportunities begin to gravitate towards them. It's as if reality itself begins to respond to your new vibration. The problem: most men don't realize that they already have this power. They allow themselves to be carried away by doubts, distractions, and conditioning that weaken them. The moment a man lets go of these bonds and aligns himself with his true energy, everything changes. But there is an intriguing detail in all this. Women, despite feeling this magnetism, talk openly about it. And this raises an important question: why do they hide this secret from men? Women have openly reported on the raw power of attraction a man can have, and this is no coincidence. Recognizing this truth would mean delivering knowledge that could completely change the dynamics between the sexes. If men heard the real impact of their energy and presence, they would no longer need to seek validation or mold themselves to like. The game would change completely, and that's exactly what many women avoid. They want to test, challenge, and observe, hoping to find a man who will discover this secret on his own, without them having to reveal it. I've seen how many women are attracted to men who look different, but can't explain exactly why. This happens because this attraction does not come from something obvious like appearance or money, but from the brutal energy that this man exudes. He is not concerned with pleasing, does not beg for attention, and does not react emotionally to the tests they impose. This type of man stands out because he transmits peace, light, and unshakable confidence. And the most curious thing, even if a woman tries to ignore him, his presence remains imprinted in her mind. If men knew how much their energy influences women, they would never again need to try to impress with superficialities. The real game of attraction is not in words or strategies, but in the essence that a man projects. And the irony of it all? The less a man needs female approval, the more irresistible he becomes. But how to apply this knowledge in a practical way? This is what differentiates those who understand the concept from those who actually live this reality. Now that you know what really sparks female attraction, the question is, what are you going to do with this information? Will you continue to act as if you need to prove something to the world, or will you finally embrace the power that has always been within you? The truth is that most men go their entire lives without understanding this secret, stuck in a cycle of insecurity and searching for validation. But those who awaken to this reality become unstoppable. Stop and reflect. Have you behaved like a man who conveys presence and confidence, or like someone who waits for the world's permission to exist? Are you becoming a man women remember, or just another one they forget? If you're still not sure, it's time to change that. Masculine energy doesn't need to be begged, and you don't need tricks or magic formulas. Just align yourself with your essence and let your presence speak for you. If this content made sense to you, like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any more powerful insights like this. And tell me here in the comments, what was the part that opened your mind the most? I want to know your opinion.